In the quiet, hallowed grounds of Windsor Castle, a family stood fractured. The world wasn't just watching to mourn a patriarch, but to witness the cold reality of a broken brotherly bond. Yet, in the middle of all that grief, could a single, quiet gesture from a grieving princess begin to heal a royal divide? The death of Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, in April 2021 was a moment of immense national sorrow. For the royal family, it was the loss of a husband, a father, a grandfather, the anchor who had guided them for over 70 years. But for two brothers, Prince William and Prince Harry, it was the first time they would stand face to face in over a year. A year that was defined by public accusations and private pain. A story of tentative hope emerged in the days that followed, centered not on the estranged princes, but on the woman who stood between them, Catherine, the Princess of Wales. A narrative quickly formed that Catherine, deeply affected by the loss of a man who had become something of a mentor, was the unseen hand pushing for peace. This is the story of how one woman's grief and a single, subtle act of diplomacy offered a fleeting glimpse of reconciliation. To really get the weight of that day, you have to understand the chasm that had opened between William and Harry. What was once a celebrated partnership, two brothers navigating the trauma of their childhood together, had curdled into a public and painful feud. The Fab Four, William, Catherine, Harry, and Meghan, once seen as a beacon of modern monarchy, had fallen apart in spectacular fashion. Insiders point to a series of escalating tensions. It began, some say, with William's brotherly advice to Harry to take things slowly with Meghan Markle, advice that reportedly didn't go over well. From there, the pressures of public life, different ideas about royal duty, and the intense media spotlight drove a wedge between the couples. The formal separation of their royal households in 2019 was the first official sign that their joint path had split. But the fracture truly broke open in January 2020, when Harry and Meghan announced their plan to step back as senior working royals. The decision sent shockwaves through the monarchy. Their subsequent move to North America created not just a geographical distance, but an emotional one. Then came the interview. On March 7, 2021, just a month before Prince Philip's passing, Harry and Meghan sat down with Oprah Winfrey for a bombshell interview watched by tens of millions of people globally. The accusations were seismic. Claims of a lack of support, of troubling conversations about their son Archie's skin color, and Harry's own admission that his father and brother were trapped created a crisis for the royal family. Harry confirmed the speculation about his relationship with William, stating simply, "The relationship is space at the moment. And time heals all things, hopefully." Talks between the brothers after the interview were said to be not productive. The trust that was once the bedrock of their bond seemed shattered. This was the landscape as April 2021 arrived. A family not just in turmoil, but in a state of public opposition. The stage was set for a reunion, not at a party, but at a funeral, under the watchful eyes of the entire world. And it was into this storm of grief and grievance that Prince Harry would return, alone. On the morning of April 9, 2021, Buckingham Palace delivered the somber news. It is with deep sorrow that Her Majesty the Queen has announced the death of her beloved husband, His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. At 99 years old, the longest-serving royal consort in British history was gone. His passing, though not entirely unexpected, was still described by his son, Prince Edward, as a dreadful shock. A wave of grief swept across the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. Tributes poured in from world leaders, all praising Philip's remarkable life of service and his unique, often irreverent, personality. But it was his own family's words that painted the most intimate picture of the loss. Prince Charles, in a heartfelt message, spoke of his dear papa as a very special person who had given most remarkable, devoted service to the Queen, to my family, and to the country. Princess and remembered Philip as her teacher, her supporter, and her critic, noting his ability to treat everyone as an individual. Across social media, the family presented a united front. The websites for the Cambridges and for Harry and Meghan's Archewell both shared the palace's official statement, a synchronized display of grief. But behind the formality lay a complex emotional reality. The Queen was now a widow. Prince Charles was grieving his father while shouldering more of his future duties as king. For William and Harry, their grandfather's death carried extra weight. It was Philip who had famously convinced a hesitant young William to walk behind his mother Diana's coffin, reportedly asking him, "If I walk, will you walk with me?" That shared trauma had forged a deep bond. Now, they were set to walk behind his coffin, but this time, the unity was gone, replaced by a painful frostiness. As the April 17th funeral approached, the focus shifted to the reunion of the two brothers. Prince Harry returned to the UK alone, as his pregnant wife Meghan was advised by her doctor not to travel. It would be the first time he'd seen his family in person in over a year. The circumstances were intense. Due to pandemic restrictions, the funeral was scaled back to just 30 guests at St. George Chapel. This enforced intimacy meant there was nowhere to hide. Every glance, every movement, would be scrutinized. Palace aides were reportedly walking on eggshells, desperate to keep the focus on mourning the Duke, not on family drama. People were wondering, could this shared grief be the catalyst for a thaw in their icy relationship? Royal commentators and the public held onto a sliver of hope. Funerals have a way of putting other conflicts into perspective. There was a real desire to see the brothers put their differences aside, even for a day, to support their grandmother. The initial signs, however, weren't great. The procession order revealed that William and Harry would not be walking side by side. Their cousin, Peter Phillips, would be between them. But the service was deeply moving, a fitting farewell. The image of the Queen sitting alone, a small, masked figure in the vast chapel, became an enduring symbol of grief and isolation. As the last notes of the bugle faded, the royal family filed out into the bright spring sunshine. And it was here, in this unscripted moment, that everything changed. As the mourners began to walk back towards Windsor Castle, Prince Harry was seen speaking first with his sister-in-law, Catherine. The two had always shared a close bond. Harry once called her the big sister he never had. Body language experts observed that Harry seemed to visibly relax as he spoke with her. Then, Prince William joined the conversation. For the first time, the trio was seen walking together. Lip readers later claimed the chat was simple, with William remarking the service was beautiful and Harry agreeing it was as he wanted. It wasn't much, but it was a start. What happened next became the focus of endless analysis. As the three walked, Catherine subtly began to hang back. She slowed her pace, turning to speak with another family member and allowing her husband and brother-in-law to walk ahead together, alone. It was a masterful, almost imperceptible maneuver. She simply created a space and then stepped out of it. For royal watchers, it was a lightning bolt of hope. Royal experts called Kate a peacemaker who had been heartbroken by the feud and was instrumental in that moment. Her actions were seen as a deliberate, yet subtle, piece of diplomacy. One body language expert noted how she skillfully kept the conversation going, making it easy for William to join in. The image of William and Harry walking and talking, seemingly at ease, was broadcast around the globe. It was the moment everyone had hoped for, but few expected. Whether it was calculated or just natural instinct, Catherine's gesture was widely seen as the catalyst. She had gently nudged the door to reconciliation open. The question was whether the brothers were willing to walk through it. To fully appreciate Catherine's actions, it helps to understand her own personal loss. The idea that she was deeply affected by Prince Philip's death isn't just speculation. It's rooted in a strong bond they'd formed over the years. Royal commentators noted that the loss of the family patriarch put family squarely back as the main priority in Kate's mind. Her relationship with her grandfather-in-law was one of shared humor and mutual respect. Photos from years of royal events often show Catherine laughing at Philip's side remarks. In his own tribute, Prince William acknowledged this connection, stating, "I will always be grateful that my wife had so many years to get to know my grandfather and for the kindness he showed her." But their bond went deeper than jokes on a balcony. Prince Philip reportedly saw a kindred spirit in Catherine, someone who, like him, had married into the heart of the monarchy and understood the pressures of a supporting role. He respected her dedication and her quiet, duty-first approach. It's been reported that one of Philip's most crucial pieces of advice to her was to focus on the job, not the cameras, a philosophy that helped shape her public persona. His death wasn't just the loss of a family member, but of a mentor who had helped her find her footing. So, her actions at his funeral can be seen through that lens. She wasn't just a concerned wife and sister-in-law. She was a student of Philip's philosophy. To see his funeral overshadowed by a family feud would have gone against everything he stood for. Her personal grief likely fueled a conviction that, on this day, the family needed to show unity. Her subtle diplomacy was, in a way, the ultimate tribute to the man who taught her the importance of duty above all else. She was doing what he would have wanted, getting on with the job. That brief walk up the hill was a powerful symbol. For a short time, they weren't the heir and the spare, but simply two brothers mourning their grandfather. This moment of unity, however, proved to be tragically brief. The hope that Philip's funeral would be a true turning point never materialized. While the ice was broken, the fundamental issues that drove them apart were still there. Harry returned to California shortly after the funeral, and the distance, both physical and emotional, set in once more. The public feuding, far from stopping, would only escalate. The publication of Harry's memoir, Spare, in 2023 laid bare the full extent of the brothers' animosity, detailing deep-seated resentments. The space Harry had spoken of in the Oprah interview had become a vast, seemingly unbridgeable gulf. Looking back, the interaction at Prince Philip's funeral feels less like the beginning of a reconciliation and more like a poignant what-if. It was a flash of the bond that once existed. Catherine's role as the peacemaker provided the perfect conditions for a truce. She created a safe, neutral space for them to reconnect as people, not just as princes. But a single conversation can't undo years of hurt. The damage was too deep. The moment of unity at Windsor was a temporary ceasefire in a long and painful war of words. It remains a powerful testament to Catherine's diplomatic instincts, but also a heartbreaking reminder of just how much has been lost. The dynamic between William, Harry, and Catherine continues to be a subject of intense public fascination. What are your thoughts on Catherine's role at the funeral? Do you think she was actively trying to broker peace, or was it just a natural, human moment? Let us know your opinions in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the royal family. In the end, the story of Prince Philip's funeral is a complex mix of grief, duty, and fractured relationships. At its center is Princess Catherine, a figure who, according to many, was deeply affected by the loss of a mentor and saw a chance to heal. Her subtle, yet powerful, gesture of stepping aside gave the world a glimmer of hope that the bond between two brothers could be salvaged. While that hope has since faded, the image endures, a quiet act of peacemaking in the middle of profound sorrow. It's a powerful reminder that even in the most public of families, the most significant moments are often the most personal. Only time will tell if the bridge Catherine tried to build that day can ever be truly crossed.